Pleased now to be joined by an authority on cybersecurity. Ian Marlowe, he's the CEO of FITECH Consultants. That's a company based in Wayne, New Jersey. Thanks for coming in.
My pleasure.
We've heard so much about hacking of computers and getting private information. Companies like Equifax, even the Defense Department computers have been hacked. But this, I understand, is not a case of hacking. Correct?
No, this is different. This is a situation in which various people are given access to certain data, and then once they have access to that, they're supposed to destroy it if they're not using it. But in this case, that didn't occur.
Now, let's establish up front. What happened in this case was not illegal, correct?
Well, it all
inappropriate.
I think very inappropriate. I think it's got serious ethical implications. But based upon the Facebook rules at the time, they're saying no. It was. And
let's establish too, because people always say we're throwing barbs at the president, but the Trump campaign did not do anything illegal here. Perhaps inappropriate, but not illegal.
No, not in any case. Not using a third party that says that they accessed the data and got access to that information appropriately.
Now, a whistleblower is the one who brought this to light. Why wasn't this detected with all the security and the firewalls?
Well, I think this is a situation in which, because it's not classified as a data breach, this has nothing to do with security or firewalls per se. This is about the fact that information is transmitted for an academic purpose, and then what are they doing with it from there? So it's completely different.
Now, Andrew Ramos gave us a good overview, but in layman's term from an authority, what was it that Cambridge Analytica did?
So basically, you have the opportunity to, in this instance, like download an app that gives you a personality quiz, and we just think that these are really fun things to do. And what happened in this case is you downloaded that, you actually took the quiz, that information grabbed a bunch of information, and then gave that to the third party. So you just don't know when you're downloading something what is going to happen.
Now, I've read that Facebook protocols were triggered, but no one detected it. Why not?
Well, I think the question is, this is going to come to where questions of regulation will come to light in the coming weeks, and we'll see what happens when Zuckerberg gets called. But the question is now, they did have information going back a couple of years ago about this. Why did they not do anything since then?
Yeah, thought back then. Now, what kind of information did they glean from that? Your social security, your pictures? What is it they get?
Well, the interesting thing is, this is not about identity theft. This is something completely different. This is personality theft, in my view. This is, you're looking at it and being able to put together the information of predictably what should be marketed to you. And that's what that really comes down to. All of these, what you like, what you don't like, what you're looking at, what you're watching, and all of that creates a very unique personality profile. And that information is then being used to target you.
So this is considered mining or harvesting, just pulling in the information from unwitting computer users.
It's bringing all of that information together, mining it to come to certain conclusions of what will appeal to you.
Now, is this situation with Facebook just the tip of the iceberg?
I think that it's going to become pervasive. I think right now this is what they've done with information from one platform. And as you know, Facebook is only one type of social media platform. So as you combine more and more data points, you actually make it more accurate for people to target you.
Now, the information was used, it was exploited by a political consulting firm. I mean, we have the investigation going on to perhaps the Russian meddling in the 2016 election. Does this, from what we know now, has this had any kind of an impact, do you believe, on the outcome of the election?
I don't think that anybody at this point can actually predict that appropriately. I think, once they delve into the information that was done, once this information gets pulled together, people are going to compare it to the digital ads that they saw. And when they see the digital ads they saw and actually begin to make estimates from that, I think further data will help define that.
Now, Mark Zuckerberg has admitted that this was a breach of trust, and he's apologized for not catching this earlier. Is this perhaps the beginning of the end of Facebook?
I don't believe so. I think that,
2 billion users.
2 billion users. It's very difficult. You have some a call for people where they're going to Instagram instead of Facebook at the moment, and but the question is, every single time we see a breach of trust, it's a question of how far does that go, and how is it going to change our social life? Right now, it's so heavily ingrained. The question is, what do you do to make people comfortable again?
Okay, so you asked the question, give me the answer.
I don't think that. I think it's very unique to each individual, and I think it's broken by different age groups. You know, you have, it's amazing. I think that there's a lot of millennials that will be very upset by this breach. I think that those of us that don't have a ton of information necessarily on there, depending upon the age group and the bracket that use it, they're going to say, how did that really affect me?
Now, we use a computer. I get on Facebook myself. Is there any way we could detect that someone is out there mining and harvesting my information?
Well, I think a key thing that happens in these is don't take those personality tests. I always advise people, if there are things that it makes you to download something else, you need to stay away from that. You know, what do we use social media for? It's to interact with the people that we know. In many cases now, it's to interact with the people that we don't. So, but when as you see that your data and your information is requested to profile you, that should be an alarm that goes off.
That is do not take those personality tests. What else can we do to protect ourselves and protect our information?
Well, I think it's also being selective about what you put on there. Okay, for years we've talked to people about how you know, having exactly where your location is at that moment being tracked is not exactly a very smart thing to do. In addition to that, you know, having enough information for your identity to be stolen and have all of that information shared. So we've identified data breaches with our identities, and like you asked before, it has to do about, you know, stealing a credit card or something else. But now you're in an entirely different world. It's using that information to target you in different ways. In some ways, we love it. As an example, don't you like it when you log into Amazon and it knows that you bought these 15 things and you see the 16th thing that you didn't think?
It already has your credit card.
Yeah, and it has your credit card, and you didn't know you wanted it, but you're like, wow, I want that. So in some level, we've come to really appreciate that. And now it's a question of, where do we no longer appreciate that? What we found today is it's a very fine line.
All right, we talked about the Facebook situation, but as the authority on cybersecurity, what guidance would you give to our viewers, including me, who are so vulnerable? How do we best protect ourselves against anyone, whether it's Facebook or some consulting firm getting into our computers and our personal information?
Well, for computers and your personal information, it's all about password protection and very simple things that you can do. Don't use the same password every single time. Don't use your home address. I have really, you know, even amazing other situations I've seen. On my phone now, I have security glass on it because people behind on the next line, you're paying by credit card, they see that when you put in that security code. So you've got those basics on security. From what we're seeing in personality profiling, you got to be really careful, A, about taking those tests. Don't download anything, because a key thing that happened here was you downloaded a test and then it actually scraped information off the profile outside of Facebook. Understand, when you do that and you download another app, now you're no longer predicated and working off of the security of the app you're in. You're in something new, and that's a new hole.
Change your password regularly.
Change your password regularly, and don't give it to 50 people.
Okay. Ian Marlowe of FITECH Consultants from Wayne, New Jersey, thank you so much for your insight. I've learned something, and I hope our viewers did too.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for joining us. Okay, we're going to take a break. We come back, we'll talk about